Hello.
So, what is your outlook? It looks like, I mean, we're talking about Great Britain and Wales and Ireland and Canada were being ahead of us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but they're all generally in the same group. They're all bad, and it's just going to get worse. They want to spy on everybody. They want to know how much money they got, where it is, so they can steal it. I mean, what these people are doing is just incredible. And I was asked on ABC radio this morning, why is this happening? And I said because 50% of the population is ignorant. They're functionally illiterate. I mean, how do you expect them to understand the complex things that go on? They believe what they read and hear in the general media, so they don't learn anything. And that's why I come on these stations and write my publication. It's very important that I do because I'm informing millions and millions of people. In fact, I had one of the commentators say to me today that, you could have became a professor and reached hundreds of people every week, and you didn't, and now you're reaching millions every month.
That's basically what you're doing. Is I've got a number of military personnel out there that are coming forth and saying, well, it's basically freer to live in Africa than it is in any of the known nations that have basic living conditions that we have in America. But in Africa, they can't control you. That you have more liberty in there than and in some states in South America than you have in North America.
Well, what interests me, I had to laugh when I read that thing. 149th out of 150, I think it was, or was it 49 out of 50? I can't remember. Was Mexico.
9 out of 50.
I was stunned. They obviously don't check anything.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good place to live for the time being.
Well, what surprised me was the fact that Colombia and Venezuela and Peru and Chile, those countries were all in the low bottom. I mean, we're talking about the bottom 10.
Yeah, well, it's not surprising, because of different reasons. It's not a priority there. I mean, they're not chasing people's money. This is, it's always about money. They want to know where everybody's doing, where they are. I mean, look at the census in the United States. They're GPSing people's houses. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's going on.
Well, right here in this last week, I don't know if I know you've heard about it. The 16-year-old boy that was accused of making an accusation, and he was arrested on a technicality of an FBI agent and they scooted this boy out of North Carolina over to Indiana under the Patriot Act. He hasn't seen a judge. He hasn't had a representative, i.e. a lawyer, to talk to. He's been basically incarcerated for almost 90 days. Has America resorted to a Stalinism form of government?
Well, of course. Or Hitlerian. It doesn't matter which. It's a totalitarian government. I mean, that's exactly what it is. A spade is a spade.
I got an IM.
I mean, why would they pick up a 16-year-old kid and there's no charges? They got to be out of their minds, and they are out of their minds.
And what gets me, Mr. Chapman, is nobody's really talking about it on mainstream press about this 16-year-old kid. I haven't heard anything or seen anything in the newspapers or on the mainstream media. What kind of a secrecy is going on out there?
Lots. It's not a free country. Why do you think so many people are leaving? Particularly older people.
I mean, hear that. People are leaving, but nobody's discussing that. How many do you see a vast what do you call it, departure of minds that, you know, educated people leaving America, or is it just those that have got that are older people that are retired that are leaving?
Oh, I think it's a great deal of three different classes, those two, and even young people with children. The problem is if you're younger, let's say you're in your 30s or 40s, then and if you have children, then you have an additional problem, because most countries won't let you work unless you start a business, and you usually have to wait 5 or 6 years to become a citizen of that country if you choose to. And so you usually have to have money to move if you're young and got children. And most of those families don't have that, you know, a backup of $250,000 or $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it takes. Whereas professional people usually have more money, and retired people usually have money from the accumulation of a lifetime. So the first two are the ones that leave first. But they're all over the world, but particularly in Central and South America and Mexico. It is loaded. I mean, you know, in Mexico alone, there's 3 million non-Mexicans in the country. I mean, that's a lot of people. I mean, there's only 100 million people in the country, so that's 3% of the population. And, of course, Mexico likes to have them there because they usually bring money with them and start businesses or retire. And many of them buy homes. And so it's like a flow of money into the country. And but there's a lot of people who have left the United States. And if these things continue to go on the way that they are, I would imagine that lots more would leave as well.
I had an IM here from Luxembourg, a Marine security guard there. Yes, from Luxembourg. I got Major Raines, I am a sergeant here in Luxembourg at the present time. I noticed that Luxembourg was 45 on the list, and I'm quite surprised that in this part of the world we can move, the Luxembourg people can move around quite freely without being worried about having to carry an identification. The freedom here, it resembles the freedom that I had when I lived in Miami back in the 90s. Here, you don't even have to carry identification with you when you go out. But my wife, my ex-wife, has to carry identification wherever she goes when she travels around Miami. Ask Mr. Chapman, does he see this as an ongoing result of what is the New World Order is going to bring? And are they going to bring it to all the nations of Europe?